Trump got a win in the the White House is fighting these uphill battles. The administration is going to be doing this for a while. Everything is a lawsuit with Trump, and he understands that. And one of the things that was, and we've said it, as much as I get frustrated at times with Trump in some of the stuff in the administration, it does, because I think they want to go, and sometimes you need to, cut 2-3 times, measure. Don't cut a whole bunch, just once. So one of the big things, though, is can we get rid of the bad ones, the worst first, right? Oh yeah, that old law, the Alien Enemies Act from 1792 or one of those way back days. Yeah, he can use that. So he got a win from the Oracles, which was not a shocker. I always thought he was going to win that one. But it does come with a little bit of a caveat.
President Trump hailed the Supreme Court ruling as, quote, a great day for justice in America. And this is a victory for the administration, but as you note, only a partial one. On a 5-4 vote, with Justice Amy Coney Barrett, a Trump appointee, joining the court's liberals in dissent, the Supreme Court ruled that President Trump can continue to use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 for now to carry out deportations of alleged Venezuelan gang members.
For now, we can do this. And it is going to be about due process. That's the big thing. You've got to give these people time. You can't just go, you've got a tattoo. I think you're part of this gang. I saw a Facebook post from 12 years ago of you putting up the hang loose sign. That could be construed as a gang sign. We got to get rid of you.
But the ruling was narrow. The court's majority holding only that this case was brought in the wrong lower court, so litigation likely to continue. And this is huge. All 9 justices of the Supreme Court agreed that courts do have the power to review the president's actions under that 1798 law, and that each and every Venezuelan migrant scheduled to be deported must get due process. That is advance notice of the deportation and a meaningful opportunity to challenge it in court.
So, and this is on the heels of, and I don't even know how many, yesterday is funny because I mentioned something and everybody's like, that's the wrong guy. This is what happened to this guy. Because you've got one in Maryland. You've got the, for lack of a better term, the gay hairdresser. You've got the soccer player from Venezuela, who was not the same guy from, you've got all of these people and all their families are like, this guy, we had an order that he was not to be removed and you didn't even listen to us and you took him away. So we want some due process. And so I don't know how many of these lawsuits are going through because, for all the 200 and some that went down there, there's not a ton of them. But could we have made a mistake? Possibility is there.
Chief Justice John Roberts essentially calling a timeout here, giving the court more time to consider the case of Kilmar Albrego Garcia. He is a Maryland man in the United States legally, who the government admits it mistakenly deported to that El Salvador prison. The administration does not want to return him. A lower court judge has ordered that the administration bring him back to the United States, but the administration argues that exceeds the power of the judiciary and interferes with the president's ability to carry out foreign affairs.
Good. And I'll say, I get on this administration. I was any administration, but I voted for Trump. I want Trump to succeed. I want the administration to succeed. I want them to do the right thing because that's who we are. And we should use some common sense and this want to get a hold of stuff. And then I heard, we can't. He's already in El Salvador. We can't bring him back. You can bring him back. You can't make a phone call. Right, there's no way you can make a phone. No, it's too late, man.
You can't convince me that somebody couldn't call down there to their president and say, we're kind of having some issues here. Could you just send that guy back for us? And
yeah.
What's the president going to say? No, he's mine now.
I know. That's the other stuff that's going to be coming in these lawsuits is if we deport. Can we deport foreign nationals to other prisons where they're not wanted for something? Is another one of the lawsuits that's coming. So sending somebody from Venezuela or Honduras or Turkey or wherever to El Salvador, is that something we're able to do, or do we have to deport them back to their own nation? And in some cases, they're not taking some of their people, but for Venezuela, they had already worked that out through threats, or whatever you want to call it, that they were going to take some of those people back. So I don't know how that's going to play itself out. This was also unsigned. So it was 5-4, and I heard Chris talking about Amy Coney Barrett and how awful she is, et cetera, et cetera. But these things were also unsigned, which means, essentially you weren't supposed to know. You just knew it was 5-4. You didn't know who, what, when, how. There wasn't supposed to be really any dissent, and away it goes. And here we are. This is going to be something, though, that is going to go forward, and each one of them, and there is going to be a lot. Like we said, so many of these things are going to be tested at the Supreme Court level. And the partial victory, you heard that, the activist judges. Well, the Supreme Court said, no, they're not activist judges, they're judges, and they have every right to listen to these cases and to rule on them. Ooh. On the other side of it, he got another win today, which shouldn't have been too surprising, and it had to do with probationary workers. And I didn't realize how prolonged probationary workers, it's like a 2-year process when you're with the government. That's then you get tenure at that point in time.
The judges basically at the lower court never questioned the government's power to fire these workers. It was just how it was done. But the Supreme Court today said actually these labor unions don't have standing to even take on that challenge. They said that these groups had not shown enough evidence that they are directly harmed to be able to bring this case. And so for now, even as the litigation moves forward, these workers will be off the job effective immediately going forward.
Because you're on probation. Like all of us, for the most part, you work somewhere, you have a 30-day, 60-day, or 90-day probation. Theirs is a little longer, and it's because it's government. Nobody would ever think you'd get fired. But you can't tell the administration that you can't get rid of probationary when you can go back and saw, 370,000 that Al Gore, this is before he invented the internet, got rid of, and most of them were probationary workers. Now, it's a different story with the unions, and the battles are going on with the full members when you're not on probation, and that's what we're going to see in the coming days, weeks, and months. So, very interesting. Somebody said, hell no, we don't want to make a call to ask him to come back. F him. So, are you saying, Ray, that we should just say, screw the law? Is that what we say? Screw the law? Screw the courts. We make up our own rules. We've got dinosaurs now. And dinosaurs change everything.
Dinosaurs is the penultimate making your own rules.
That's it. Quick to the dire wolf. What does it say? It says, I win. Kathy asks about the dire wolves. Does this mean nothing will go extinct? Here's the thing. One of the reasons they're doing this, besides it's awesome, is the fact that they're going to try to bring back and stop things from going extinct, like, black rhinos, stuff that's close to being extinct with only 1 or 2 left, being able to preserve and to repopulate. And eventually things like that where you would like to get them back out in the wild, you're not putting the dire wolves out there. You're not. I mean, that's not going to happen. And when they make a T-Rex or something, they're not putting that out. A Trump Rex, they're not putting that thing out there. MAGA. That's all it says. Instead of, it says MAGA. The only due process of an illegal alien is time for them to prove they're here legally or not. It's not the way it works. Look, you don't have to like it. Okay? You don't have to like it. I didn't make up the rules. I didn't write the Constitution. I didn't do any of those things. You don't have to like it. I'm going by what the court says. Now, if you feel that the court is stupid and you don't like it, then you should take it up with the court. Like that's not me. And by the way, one of the people that they're talking about was here illegally, proved that he was in danger, and that I think he had been subjugated in Venezuela and beaten on a few occasions about his politics, so they gave him asylum. I don't know about the rest, because we don't know. Again, we don't know. Some of this stuff has been very, it's like, it's national security, so we can't, it's a risk. But we'll find out what happens. Again, due process. I want due process. Because the more you have due process, the more you prove to people that this is who we are. We follow the law to the T. When everybody said we weren't going to. When everybody said that, no, he's going to get in there, he's going to make himself, a dictator for the day, but instead he's made it for life. The more that you follow the law and you do the things you're supposed to do, the better it is for everybody. because it shows you, look, we're as transparent as it gets. And that's what we want. We want transparency across the board. This last administration was anything but transparent. They were, we wouldn't have had a guy wandering around the White House for 4 years. Really, the last 2.5 years, just absolutely out of his mind half the time, if they were transparent and people were honest. And we want that. We want that from our leaders. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. That's what you want. Because if you want to be able to stand there and say, we did it right, we listened, we followed the law, there is nothing else. You won't be in this mess again, which is what you want. And they're going to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. I made one earlier. Trust me, you guys let me know. You guys are keeping score, apparently, as well as Bell. You guys keeping score on Bell, as you have to, though, with Bell. Can't let him get away with some of this stuff.
I will cheat.
Will you?